Hey, futurist Jim Carroll, there we are. Listen, I did a little show the other day, and I wasn't really happy with what it was. It was about how leadership insight is changing, and I had a look afterwards. I didn't put it together right, and the only thing I've learned is the only way to get good at doing this thing in the virtual broadcast studio is to do it again, rebuild it, blow it up, and try and nail it again. So I'm about to that. Going to go live. Hope you will give it a watch. It's going to cover the disruptive trends that are redefining your future in the context of COVID-19. Going to be a little bit of an intro, and then we're going to rock.
You know, several years ago, I was in the home office. It's a Monday morning, and the phone rings, and I pick it up, and it's a potential client on the line.
It's NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration.
And they said to me, you know, Jim, we found you on the internet. We've read your material. We've watched your videos.
And we would like to invite you in to talk to us about the future of space.
This is not your normal Monday morning type of phone call. Well, you have to know your client. I said, well, who's going to be in the room? They said, we're going to have some astrophysicists. We're going to have some people who are studying the origins of the universe.
We're going to have some astronauts. We're going to have some mission directors, literally some rocket engineers, people who build spacecraft.
But we would like you to come and talk to us about the future of space. So it's about a week before, I'm pulling together my PowerPoint presentation.
And I'm thinking I might have gone a little bit too far. These are people who are incredibly intelligent, putting rockets into the air and mankind into the sky.
What can I possibly talk to them about in terms of the future of space? And then I started thinking to myself, well, you know, the future, space, George Jetson. There's a connection there, right?
I'm going to talk about the Jetsons.
So I pulled up this picture of George Jetson, found another picture, and I started my presentation for NASA by speaking about the Jetsons. Well, why would I do that?
The Jetsons came out in 1962, and it purported to show what the world would look like in the year 2062, 100 years later.
The future is coming at us, but the most important thing that we need to recognize is that it is accelerating. The Jetsons have arrived
50 years early. And we're witnessing that right now in the context of the reality of COVID-19. When you look at the show today, they predicted our COVID-19 reality, the emergence of the home office, online classes, telemedicine, and video calling, which drives every single aspect of our working life. So much of what they did has become a part of our post-pandemic reality today.
The future is coming at us faster than ever before.
We live in the era of acceleration. Trends which we did not expect to become a real part of our world are all of a sudden accelerating. They are coming at us with greater speed and greater intensity.
Futurist Jim Carroll, and while you've been busy managing the complexities of dealing with the global pandemic and COVID-19 and working as a leader to try to steer your organization through the future, I've been busy on my own providing the research that you will soon need to understand how is your world going to unfold through the next 1, 2, 5, 10 years. As a futurist, I have spent my time with organizations around the world, Fortune 1000 organizations, government agencies, massive conferences putting in perspective the disruptive trends which have a change in our future and would provide us challenges going forward into 2025, 2030, and beyond. A lot of these events, it got to be quite interesting. For a long time in my 25-year career, I would speak at a lot of association conferences, putting in perspective the industry trends, but something interesting happened in the last 10 years, and it is this. Fortune 1000 CEOs found it necessary to bring their team together for a corporate offsite meeting somewhere, their top 50 executives, their top 100 executives, their top 200 executives, and they started to invest heavily in these events. The goal of these events was to put in perspective the disruptive trends which would shape their future and give them an opportunity to collaborate and share insight on what they needed to do to align to the reality of these trends. They would often find me and bring me in to open these conferences or events. So I found myself on stage in some of the, for some of the world's largest organizations, putting in perspective the disruptive trends that would change their future. For example, a global medical device company brought me in just last year to a sales conference and a leadership meeting to put in perspective the fact that they were no longer just a medical device company, but instead they were actually now selling some sort of weird, hyper-connected, artificial, intelligent device that forever changed their sales proposition, their branding proposition, their marketing proposition. They were seeing a massive transformation from a world in which they were selling a widget to something in which they weren't selling a widget anymore. And that became my role, to open up the mind of organizations worldwide as to what they need to do to align themselves to a world in which the future belongs to those who are fast. I wrapped up a lot of this insight into a page on my website, disruption.jimcarroll.com. And on that page, I put together my thoughts on 24 issues, 24 reasons why your company might die before you're old. The real disruptive trends which are changing our world. And it drew a lot of attention and actually grabbed the attention of a lot of CEOs and senior executives who read it and would say to themselves, that's it. That's precisely what is happening to us. And that's what we need to do. And then COVID-19 hit, global pandemic settled in, economic turmoil, upheaval, a lot of industries finding themselves in massive disarray. So it's a good time to revisit those trends and think about, where are these disruptive trends now? What has happened? How has our world changed? So let me walk you through these. There's 24 of them. This is going to take a little while to walk you through. Number one, multiple trends merge. I would often explain that, we're in this world in which we have all this stuff coming together. 3D printing, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, self-driving cars. We never lived in a period of time that saw so many trends come together all at once at such staggering speed. And that is what was driving forward the imagination of pioneers who were redefining and disrupting industries. And if you think about what has happened with COVID-19, a lot of these trends have accelerated. 3D printing has taken off because it emerged as one of the primary methods by which organizations could bring medical masks and other critical medical devices to the world of fighting the global pandemic. So this trend has actually accelerated. Second observation, every company becomes a software company. Technology exists at the heart of so many industries and their business models and the nature of the product they sell. And this has accelerated to a huge degree. We have just witnessed the massive virtualization of entire industries literally overnight, as everybody had to become working at home, and as everybody discovered we had to become new organizations in which global collaboration, the ability to interact online, defined our future. Not only that, think about the world of retail. They had to go to a world extremely quickly in which e-commerce drove every single aspect of their strategy, and it became necessary for survival. Software is at the heart of so much of what is going on right now. Number three, what happens when software is at the heart of your industry? Well, Moore's law drives the speed of change. Suddenly, every single industry is now innovating at the speed of technology companies like Apple and Netflix and PayPal and others. And think about healthcare, think about retail, think about manufacturing. All these companies, as they went further into the computer industry model through COVID-19, they had to begin innovating at the speed of Silicon Valley. Science exponentiates. So think about what we are witnessing with the race to find a global vaccine, finding solutions to this massive pandemic problem. We have never witnessed before a degree of collaborative science like we are witnessing right now. And I think years from now, we're going to sit back and say something pretty profound happened there in terms of the pace of scientific discovery. Number five, edge thinking dominates. So this is a trend I was talking about in a lot of industries pre-pandemic, that a lot of R&D was shifting out to crowdfunding networks, open source networks, shifting out to these collaborative models, initiatives like Kickstarter. And this actually picked up a lot of steam through the pandemic and accelerated to a huge degree as organizations began to work with a lot of partners to figure out what they needed to do to rapidly reinvent their business model. Small beats big. Well, this is a direct result of the previous trend. A lot of small organizations working extremely fast with fast ideas, discovering this new agility to redefine their world. What is the impact of that? Ideas accelerate. Look, there's something magical happening in the world right now where organizations have really learned to work in a different way. I've got another video clip on my site where I talk about the fact that, committees have died. The issue of, studying issues to death has gone to bed. Organizational sclerosis has been destroyed. It's all been about getting things done. Organizations have discovered this new ability to work at speed that they've never had before. Number 8, revenue reinvents regularly. What I was witnessing as a disruptive trend before the pandemic was that organizations were having to continually invent a new product, new services, new capabilities for revenue which didn't exist before. Boy, they've had to do that in terms of what has happened with the pandemic because we've had to reinvent so fast. It's absolutely staggering. Look at any organization you're dealing with, and the speed of change is simply amazing. A biggie, attention spans collapse. I was talking to a lot of banks, financial institutions, insurance companies pre-pandemic about the fact that, when we were going in stores, we were scanning 6 feet of shelf space per second. Now we're all on mobile, we're all on Zoom, we're all on virtual devices. We have no attention spans left, and so we have to interact with our customers in new and different ways. Number 10, new interaction dominates. Mobile is everything. Virtual is the heart of all of our customer interactions. We've just lived this reality for the last 6 months. Business models realign. The connectivity of Internet of Things devices and hyperconnectivity and predictive diagnostics. In the medical world, this issue is taking on staggering speed as we virtualize medical care, and we've had to diagnose and monitor and manage a lot of patients from afar. But that's but one example of an industry where this has taken hold. The impact of that, distributed technologies redefine. This still has massive momentum. Renewable energy microgrids. While you've been busy dealing with the pandemic, an interesting thing has happened in the world of energy with the collapse of oil prices and really the collapse of shale oil production. And that is a staggering acceleration in the investment in renewable technology, electric battery technology, and the issue that oil is still very much over as a trend. Number 13, this one's just kind of fun. Money disappears. I was talking about the fact that so much of our transaction world is migrating to virtual capabilities. Cash is dangerous, isn't it? We have to touch it. It might, be contaminated. Kind of a fun one to think about. Flexibility emerges. I was spending a lot of time with global organizations talking about the need for agility, leadership agility, flexibility, the ability to react to extremely fast-paced change with customers, with markets, with business models, with the rapid emergence of new competitors. I think what has happened here is organizations have discovered that agility is more important than ever before. Agile is no longer an option. It's critical oxygen to help you get ahead. Gamers game. This was kind of a quirky trend, a disruptive trend I was talking about pre-pandemic. Talk about the next generation. You see them playing video games. I see them, in a world of, playing Farmville, where they're going to be in a world of managing the 24-hour farming operation of our not too distant future as autonomous vehicle takes hold. And I think social distancing has actually accelerated this trend because it's leading us to number 16, and that's the virtualization of entire industries. Augmented reality, virtual reality, remote management of manufacturing capabilities, telehealth, telemedicine, all of these trends are speeding up to a massive degree because of what has happened with COVID-19, social distancing, and all of these things. Number 17, infrastructure risk exponentiates. I was talking with someone the other day in the insurance industry, and that they said, think about these millions of home computers which are now sitting there, and they are part of big, large, massive corporate networks. I shudder to think of the corporate security risks that now exist with extended VPN networks. Insight influences. This one was all about Amazon. The fact that Amazon, as the mammoth e-commerce engine, has insight into customers that no other organization has ever really had before. Well, as every single retailer and every single organization that has had to migrate to online interaction, online shopping, online support, online customer acquisition, they're all racing to discover what can we learn from the fact that we're having all these electronic interaction tools and capabilities with our customers. Expectations accelerate. Look at the very first line. If your website sucks, so do you. And this is a reality. So much of the customer interaction has migrated to the online world that if you're not in the game, you're not in the game. Industries partner up. The fact of what has happened with COVID-19 is that you can no longer do everything you need to do to line to fast-paced change. You got to find a lot of partners. Think about how many organizations had to find e-commerce partners, pick and pack, last mile delivery partners to help them migrate to a world of virtual shopping. Knowledge accelerates, specialized skills. This one really is a key part of what has happened with COVID-19, because to get all these things done, we've had to develop a lot of new knowledge that we didn't have 6 months ago. Take a look at your own organization and think about what you have discovered in terms of skills and capabilities that you weren't really thinking was on the table just a number of months ago. And that leads to number 22, experience is new capital. The more we do new things, the better we are. You can't sit back and plan for innovation anymore. You just need to get out and do it and try new ideas. And from that, discover what works. Generational transformation. 1 out of 2 people on the planet are under the age of 25. This one hasn't changed a lot, except for the fact that they are a lot of the individuals developing the tools and infrastructure for this new virtualized world. But get this, 50% of banks and financial institutions' back-end infrastructure still relies on COBOL, an old infrastructure programming technology from 50 years ago? Kind of unique one. The bottom line, disruptive trends, big, bold thinking predominates. If you aren't in a mindset of big, bold thinking, you're not really aligned to their future. So here's what's going on. These are the types of issues that I've been covering with my client in the world of healthcare. Massive change in terms of science, in terms of virtualization, in terms of diagnostics, new pharmaceuticals, new forms of treatment. A lot of organizations were seeking leadership insight into how do we align ourselves to this new world of healthcare. In the world of energy, I had a lot of clients bring me in for leadership talks on what is the impact of distributed energy technology, a world of massive input of renewable energy sources, the end of the era of oil, how do we align ourselves to that? In the world of eye care, how do we align to the fact that we're seeing the rapid emergence of bionic eyes, new forms of vision care, a lot of acceleration of new forms of surgery. In the world of legal services, most of the world's top legal firms have had me in for CEO level events to talk about what happens in a world of increasing specialized legal knowledge and more complex legal situations driven by the complexity of the world. Obviously, autonomous vehicles, a lot of transportation companies, a lot of vehicle companies, a lot of automotive manufacturers, a lot of companies dealing with last mile delivery technology have had me in for talks. But where do we go in a world of intelligent highways and self-driving vehicles, and what is the implication in terms of disruption and business models? Retail, pick and pack retail. You know, I was in with so many retailers talking about e-commerce and the fact that we're going to have a lot of innovation occurring with last mile delivery. A lot of consumers and customers are going to migrate to this online world. And farming, 24-hour farming. You know, the acceleration of new forms of precision farming. Farming driven by that virtualized workforce of the 23-year-old who's coming home to the family farm, and they've grown up playing Farmville, and they've got new ideas on how we can do things. The world of manufacturing, the acceleration of 3D printing technology. You go through what organizations were worried about before the pandemic, and even the world of golf. How do we grow the game of golf with social media? How do we grow the game of golf by reaching out to that new next generation, utilizing technology? How do we take a game that is driven by hundreds of years of tradition and accelerate it into the future through advanced technologies, capabilities, and more? These are the issues that organizations were worried about before COVID-19 hit. And I found myself on stage at a lot of events talking about these issues, putting in perspective the disruptive issues and the innovation pathways that organizations needed to pursue to get there. Here's what's happened since. Obviously, COVID-19 has hit, and leaders, CEOs, organizations have been extremely busy in dealing with the complexities of survival, instant strategies, and the necessity to get things done. But the fact remains, these issues have not gone away. These issues, in fact, have accelerated, and they are causing more change than ever before. So here's what is now happening. I'm getting approached by organizations who are saying we still need the insight. We still need that disruptive leadership insight. We need to bring our team up to speed with the dramatic change which is impacting our industry. We can't do it, obviously, in person. So we are going to migrate to some sort of virtual online leadership event that goes beyond a simple, boring, dumb Zoom call. We need customized video, which is going to give us the insight into where we need to go and what we need to do next. So I'm actually working right now on a 15 to 20 minute video focused on the insurance industry, and it addresses the issue of how has the insurance industry changed as a result of the global pandemic and COVID-19. What are the disruptive trends that we were talking about before? How have they changed as a result of what has happened, and what do we need to do about it? And this is going to be used at a conference towards the end of September, and I'll be releasing it when it comes out. That's a very good example of what leaders are now beginning to think. What do I need to do to put my industry into a new microscope and examine the disruptive trends which are still going to change me, challenge me, and provide new opportunity in the future. I'm doing all this from this massive, sophisticated home broadcast studio in which I have invested a huge amount of time to learn how to interact, how to share insight, how to develop these online leadership meetings, which can take your organization. There's resources which I can share with you. If I can get my right stage marks, I'm going to go back and redo that one. The fact is, there's a lot of resources I can share with you. If you hit my website, there's virtual presentations which give you a concise overview of what I'm doing in my home broadcast studio. I've invested about 2,000 hours at this point in time. You can find videos such as 15 steps to help to take your virtual event into the realm of success. And there's a lot of insight that I can share with you in terms of how we can get there. The key fact remains, before the global pandemic, organizations were booking me for the fact that they were trying to align to a world of increasing massive velocity. And my tagline has always been, the future belongs to those who are fast. That has not changed. The trends have not gone away. What has gone away is the format has changed. You still need to bring your leadership team up to speed with a future in which everything is changing at an absolutely furious pace. You need to get your team on side with a disruptive future and make sure that you turn that future into opportunity. To do that, I would encourage you to reach out, give me a call. We can discuss the situation you find yourself in, the industries that I've spent time with, and how we can work together in this new, strange, online, virtual world to take your organization forward into a world in which the future belongs to those who are fast, and you are firmly aligned to the reality that you need to think big, start small, scale fast. Futurist Jim Carroll from the Virtual Home Broadcast Studio.